Welcome back. One of President Biden's new executive orders aims to ensure that government leaders keep political interference out of science and technical information in government. It could change the way agencies approach data transparency. Nick Hart is CEO of the Data Coalition. Nick, welcome back. It's great to see you. Here's the quote from the memo that President Biden put out January 27th. It's the policy of my administration to make evidence-based decisions guided by the best available science and data. That should geek out people like us that are interested in tracking performance in government, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. I think this is a really exciting opportunity for those of us that care about science and data and evidence. And it shouldn't be missed on folks in government, civil servants, political appointees alike, that this administration made that statement not a year in or not months into the administration, but 1 week into the new administration. So I think this is a call and really a plea to those, regardless of what position you have in government, that we need to have truth and trust in government that is built around science and evidence. And that's exactly what this policy statement offers.
Does this put pressure, maybe pressure is not the right word, does this put emphasis on the data collection and curation efforts at agencies across government, Nick?
Well, in some ways, that's obviously implicated. So the memo itself is largely about scientific integrity. So back in the administration of President Obama, there was a lot of intentional effort to bolster government scientific integrity approaches. And this memo reinforces a lot of that existing effort. The part that explicitly deals with data is, I think, a call from a president that we've never seen before. So the recognition of chief data officers and evaluation officers, statistical officials in this presidential memorandum is, as far as I know, the first time a president has actually acknowledged those roles except in signing legislation. So for those that are in the community that are engaged in data collection and management, this is really a new headline for you that folks are paying attention and want you to be able to succeed.
Is there a sense, do you have a sense that people will have to do their jobs differently, that people will have to think differently about the way they're doing those tasks, or is this just a kind of a codification in that respect of what agencies are doing already?
Well, it depends, and maybe it's too early to know for certain, but I think the hope is that this is really a big sea change in the way government operates. So back in 2018, when Congress called for the creation of chief data officers, for example, most of those CDOs weren't given resources when they were created or named into the positions. So by the fact that now a president is calling for the prioritization of the use of data, we have to make sure that we resource it appropriately. So, hopefully the stars are aligning here, and that will ultimately change the way that we actually do this work. If you have money and people to engage in the work, and it's not like a single person shop, that totally changes the capability to get things done and organize information, produce open data, which is actually a really important provision that's included in the memo. There's this key phrase, machine readable open data. And for those of us that have worked on data transparency for our careers, that's a magic phrase because it signals that there's a particular approach that we should be using to promote transparency for the American people. And that's included here in the memo.
I take you to Section 5B of this memo. Within 120 days of the date of this memorandum, and that deadline date would be May 27th, after consultation with the director of the Office of Management and Budget shall issue guidance to improve agencies' evidence-based building plans and annual evaluation plans. What would you expect, or what would you hope would be included there, Nick?
So taken by another name, these are called learning agendas. And the whole construct was designed back in the Evidence Act, or the Foundations for Evidence-Based Policymaking Act, to encourage agencies to plan their evidence and information needs. So this has implications for everything from social sciences to natural sciences, just across the board. I think the hope is that the new guidance from OMB will really encourage agencies to take this exercise seriously. And it's not just about planning for the sake of planning, it's planning so that those who are inside government and those of us who are on the outside can figure out how to work together and actually promote evidence-based policymaking by having the evidence in the first place. That evidence takes time to produce. And if we have better insights about the questions that agencies are struggling with trying to answer around particular policy matters, the data that they might need, the data they might need to share across agencies, that is a sea change for us in implementing evidence-based policymaking writ large across government. So the hope is that this guidance from OMB will encourage agencies to work together across the leadership positions that they have. Maybe even we'll see OMB and the Office of Science Technology Policy working more collaboratively in implementing things from the Evidence Act.
So to the point of that collaborative policy and collaborative effort, this memo says Chief Data Officers Council shall incorporate scientific integrity principles consistent with this memorandum in its efforts to establish government-wide best practices surrounding data. When Ted Kalk, the chairman of the Chief Data Officers Council, was on the program the last time, he said basically, I'm paraphrasing his words, that's what they were doing already. Is that encouraging that these data professionals across government are kind of already ahead of the curve on this?
Yes. So we have a fantastic cohort of CDOs and evaluation officials across government. Many of them are just getting started. So the more government, and the president for that matter, can reinforce the principles and the processes by which these activities should be implemented, I think the more likely they are to succeed. We're talking about culture change in agencies when it comes to data, and there's so much room for progress. I think, Francis, the other thing I would think is encouraging here is we have a number of nominees and appointees across government that are real champions of this topic. Dennis McDonough recently confirmed as the VA secretary, the Commerce secretary, a number of others. And, you know, leadership matters here. So hopefully those individuals, when they're taking the guidance that's coming out of OMB and promoting it across their agencies, can also make it real and ensure that this is not just a compliance exercise, that this is something that matters for serving the American people better.
Nick Hart, thanks very much. Great to have you back.
Thank you.